Hello, and welcome to Crime in Court. My name is Heather, and I have an update on the story of Gabby Petito and the families of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. So I'm going to read through a couple of articles here that I found that are really useful. So if you didn't already know, if you're not familiar with this case, I'm going to give you a wrap up of like what the case is about after we get through their statement. But so anyways, just very briefly, Gabby and Brian were on a road trip. They were young adults in love, and I believe they were engaged, and they were on their way just doing a road trip and doing the whole, influencer life on the road. And Brian Laundrie calls his parents and makes he cuts the trip short and comes home at some point without Gabby. It is later discovered she's missing. Her body is later found. And there were some statements made by Brian Laundrie's parents because during the search for Gabby, Brian Laundrie's parents had retained a lawyer, which is their right to do. I don't fault them for that. But then they remained silent, which is also their right, I guess. If they didn't know anything, then they can't really say anything. But I don't know what they know. And we're going to actually read the depositions on this channel of the Laundries. I have a live scheduled today. So depending on when I put this out, you might already have seen that. So anyways, this is, I'm going to read through the statement by the Petito family after just recently this week they settled a lawsuit. So the Petito family was suing the Laundrie family for hurt and distress and added trauma to the experience based on some of the statements that they made at the time. So this is after filing this suit that's been going on for a couple years now, they decided to settle in court just recently, this week. February. This is titled Family of Gabby Petito releases statement after civil suit is settled. And this is from ABC 7 staff from Sarasota, Florida. The family of Gabby Petito has released a statement following the settlement in the civil suit against the parents of Brian Laundrie and former Laundrie family attorney Stephen Bertolino. So they were suing the attorney of the Laundries as well for statements that he made. The case was resolved at mediation on Wednesday this week. So the family, Nicole Schmidt, this past week I should say, the family, Nicole Schmidt and Joseph Petito, were suing Chris and Roberta Laundrie for emotional distress in relation to Gabby's unaliving during the 2021 road trip with her fiance. They were engaged, Brian Laundrie. Petito's remains were found at a national forest in Wyoming, and the end of her life was ruled a homicide. The FBI says before taking his own life, Brian Laundrie wrote in a notebook and that he was responsible for taking Gabby's life. What the Laundries knew in regard to anything that happened, we don't know at this point. Well, I haven't read the depositions yet. We will find out shortly what they knew. So, in a statement issued by former Laundrie attorney Stephen Bertolino, he mentioned that the case had been resolved and they were looking forward to moving forward. The statement from Stephen Bertolino reads, Christopher and Roberta Laundrie and I participated in mediation with the Petito family, and the civil lawsuit has now been resolved. The terms of the resolution are confidential, and we look forward to putting this matter behind us. The Petitos were suing the Laundries and Bertolino for intentional infliction of emotional distress. They claimed the Laundries knew of Petito's unaliving after Gabby's after her life was taken in August of 2021. The family then allegedly chose to do nothing other than issue a statement through Bertolino expressing that they wanted her to be found. Gabby was later found September of 2021. Brian Laundrie took his own life in October of 2021. Wednesday's mediation took place in a secret location in Sarasota County. The terms of the settlement are confidential. Here is the statement from Joseph and Tara Petito and Nicole and James Schmidt, so the parents of Gabby Petito. After a long day of mediation, a confidential resolution has been reached between the parents of Gabby Petito, the parents of Brian Laundrie, and attorney Stephen Bertolino, to which all parties reluctantly agreed in order to avoid further legal expenses and prolonged personal conflict. Our hope is to close this chapter of our lives to allow us to move on and continue to honor the legacy of our beautiful daughter. And then attorney Patrick J. Riley also released a statement. Joe and Tara Petito, along with Nikki and Jim Schmidt, have endured a difficult and emotional 2.5 years, resulting in a resolution through mediation on February 21st, 2024. Throughout this time, the primary objective of Gabby Petito's family in pursuing litigation was to seek answers to lingering questions. Having obtained those answers through depositions, their focus now shifts to spending time with and prioritizing their families and fostering the Gabby Petito Foundation. As a result, they have decided not to take part in any interviews. Nonetheless, we wish to extend their heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to all who have supported them during these trying times. So there you have it. They are mostly just everyone just wants to move past it, heal, start to anyways now that there's been a settlement. So I'm going to read this other article that I found, which gives us a little more context, gives us a little bit more into some of the things that the Laundries may have said in depositions, what they may have known. So Brian Laundrie's parents detail the day everything hit the fan after son says Gabby Petito was gone. And this is CNN Wire, Wednesday, by Elizabeth Wolf, written by Elizabeth Wolf, Wednesday, February 21st. So in newly filed court documents, Brian Laundrie's parents detail the day everything hit the fan, recalling an exchange of frantic phone calls as their son told them his fiancée, Gabby Petito, was, quote, gone, and he needed them to find him an attorney as he drove back home without her. The calls took place on August 29th, 2021, 3 weeks before Petito's strangled remains were found in Wyoming's Bridger Teton National Forest after she was reported missing by her family, according to depositions from Laundrie's parents, Christopher and Roberta Laundrie, whose son also was soon found unalived amid mounting national attention on the case. He unalived himself and admitted to the ending of Gabby, which we just read. He wrote it in a letter. All right, so the depositions are part of a lawsuit brought by Petito's parents against Laundrie's parents for pain and emotional distress, claiming that the Laundries knew their son had ended Gabby and intentionally withheld information, thinking maybe if they had said more or told them more, things would have been different. They wouldn't have had to wait so long looking for her remains, things like that. So Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie had embarked early that summer on a cross-country van trip that she was documenting on social media as an aspiring travel influencer, but Laundrie returned to his Florida home on September 1st and later vanished into a nature reserve for weeks. After investigators found his remains, a medical examiner determined that he had died by self-unaliving. Authorities said that they found writings near his remains in which he claims responsibility for what happened to Petito. In November 2022, a Florida judge ruled in favor of Petito's family in a wrongful death suit against Brian Laundrie's estate, awarding $3 million to the Petito mother as the administrator of her daughter's estate. In the depositions filed this week in the emotional distress lawsuit, the parents of both Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie detail what was going on behind the scenes as the case unfolded. The trial was scheduled to begin in May, but they settled, so now there will be no trial. Here are the key takeaways. The day everything hit the fan. When Brian Laundrie called his mother the afternoon of August 29th, 2021, their conversation largely seemed like a lighthearted catch-up, but as they began to say goodbye, her son's tone completely changed, the mother said in her deposition. His voice was very upset, and I didn't know why, Roberta Laundrie said. I didn't want to push him, so we just said goodbye. When I got off the phone, I told Chris, Brian sounded upset. Maybe you should give him a call. When Christopher Laundrie called Brian, his son was frantic, he said in his deposition. He was not calm, and he got very excited. Brian reportedly told his father, Gabby's gone, but never said he ended her, Christopher Laundrie said. His son asked for help, saying that he may need a lawyer. I asked him why, and he wouldn't tell me. Laundrie's father said he never thought that his son ended Petito when he said she was gone. He said, I had no idea what to think. After the conversation, Christopher Laundrie contacted the family's attorney, Stephen Bertolino. Both of Laundrie's parents said in their depositions. Later that evening, Brian Laundrie called his mother to say he was coming home to Florida. Thought that Brian killed Gabby probably went through my mind, mother says. When asked what she thought her son meant when he said Petito was gone, Roberta Laundrie said several possibilities ran through her mind, including that the couple may have gotten into a fight and Petito could have been considering pressing charges. And that makes sense because they were in a fight, and she should have before when the police, when they were in Arizona, and they were pulled over on the side of the road, or they had been pulled over on the side of the road, and they were fighting, and somebody called it in saying that they had observed some physical altercation, and the police shows up, and her face is all red and she's crying, and he's saying he totally was gaslighting her, making like she was the bad one. The police also kind of took Brian's side, which was ridiculous, but anyways, that's what they're talking about. Or no, that's not what they're talking about, but it's possible that it's reasonable to think that they might have been in a fight or something, and then he needed some kind of legal protection from hurting her or whatever, maybe he did something, I don't know, not necessarily violent, but taking her things or whatever, because he did take her car, her van. All right, so initially the mother said she couldn't recall whether she considered the possibility that Brian Laundrie could have ended Petito, saying, I didn't know what to think, but she later acknowledged that she thought it probably went through my mind. Roberta Laundrie said she liked Petito, and the pair had developed a good relationship. As we knew each other longer and longer, we grew closer, and we really cared for each other. I cared for her. I believe she cared for me too. She always said so. But when asked whether she made any attempt to contact Petito or her parents after the August 29 call, the mother said, no, I was just concerned about my son at the time, and I just figured maybe her parents could come get her. My attorney told me not to talk to anybody, so I just didn't talk to anybody, Roberta Laundrie said. When Nicole Schmidt, Petito's mother, contacted her, Laundrie did not return her calls. Petito always could take care of herself, the mother said. Brian Laundrie arrived back home in Florida on September 1st with the white van that he and Petito had been traveling in, but his mother didn't ask him about what had happened to Gabby following her attorney's advice not to talk about anything that might have happened. Which is, that's smart to not know anything, I guess, she said in her deposition. All right, so burn after reading, letting a letter was poorly worded joke, mother says. When Brian Laundrie's body was found in October 2021, investigators discovered an undated letter from his mother in a backpack enclosed in the envelope that said, burn after reading. Petito's parents fought to include the letter in their lawsuit against the Laundries, saying that his mother, quote, references bringing a shovel to help bury a body and baking a cake with a shiv in it should Brian Laundrie go to prison, end quote, court documents state. Roberta Laundrie has long maintained that she penned it before her son left for the van trip and said in her deposition she never imagined the future when she wrote it. It was a poor choice of words. When I read this later, I was like, this sounds awful, Roberta Laundrie said. It was a jokey, stupid letter, and I dashed off before he left with lots of bad jokes and poor humor. I never imagined any of this. I mean, that sounds heartfelt. I mean, I can get behind what she's saying there. Like, you would never think that your son would be capable of doing that, and then you wouldn't think like some dumb letter that you write to your son in jest is going to come out publicly because all this happens. So when she decided to write the note, Roberta Laundrie was under the impression that Brian and Gabby were just driving up to New York, but she suspected that they would be gone much longer. She and her son had recently had an issue over his traveling, and she was disappointed that they would be gone so long, so she wrote it to remind him that she would always love him, the mother said. She said she wrote burn after reading as a reference to a book Petito had given her son. I did want him to get rid of it, not burn it, but throw it out so nobody reads it. It's an embarrassing note, the mother said. Laundrie's parents ignored texts and calls from the Petito's family. As the search for Gabby Petito stretched on and garnered national attention, her family made repeated efforts to contact the Laundries, eventually making public statement begging for them to cooperate in the investigation. Petito's parents, Joseph Petito and Schmidt, accused Laundrie's parents in their suit of knowing that their daughter had been unalived and that the location of her remains, and that they knew the location of her remains, when the Laundries released a September 14th statement that said, "It is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family." You could take that either way. You could take that meaning like they don't know anything and they mean that she is returned alive, or it could even mean, like, it's so vague, it could even mean that they hope she finds her remains and the remains are returned to her family. You know what I mean? That you could take it either way. So it's not definitive, in my opinion. So Petito's parents said that they made efforts. The dog's gotta get comfy, sorry. Petito's parents said that they made efforts to text and call Laundrie's parents during the search for their daughter, but never received any response. In their depositions, Christopher and Roberta Laundrie said that they ignored the Petito's messages at the advice of their attorney. Why would they? I mean, I guess don't say anything is better than, you know, saying something and then you implicate yourself or your son or whatever, but still, why would you just ignore them altogether? I think that would be even more suspect. So Joseph Petito expressed anger in his deposition that Laundrie's parents released the September 14th statement wishing for the girl's safe return, even as they privately avoided her family. It bothered me that they're not trying to figure out a way to help Gabby be brought home, Petito's father said. They supposedly love Gabby, but all they did was show that they didn't give two shits about her. And that was Joe Petito's quote there. So I can see from both sides which I can kind of see from both sides how it could be seen. The Laundries, I mean, I totally get from a defense perspective, you're going to want to stay silent, but at the expense of what? Then, the people that you are ignoring, they're going to question you at some point. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Petito and Laundrie family settling? What do you think about this case? Do you have any other perspective on this that we didn't cover today? Let me know, please, in the comments below what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much. Take care.